Welcome back to the Double Leg. I'm one half of the show, Hey Job Picks. The other half of the show, the Parlay. Joining me in to break down some Dana White Contender Series Week 8. Let's get We got episode 8 back for the Contender Series Tuesday nights, and this is the only fight under the UFC banner that's going to be happening this week. We got no fights on Saturday for the UFC, so let's make these count. We got 5 of them. Episode 8, like I said, so only a few more left for the Contender Series. It's been a pretty heavy year for the contracts given out by Dana, and I'm guessing we're probably going to get some here too, because a lot of violence is expected. What do you think of the card?
Yeah, I think this card's going to be crazy. There's a couple fights that jump off the page to me. A lot of guys with some decent experience, decent level of competition. Some wild men too on this one. I mean, you got Oliveira, who likes to talk the trash. He showboats. He's got a fun style. Like, I'm pretty excited for this whole entire card.
Yeah, it should be pretty exciting to watch. Not like some big name value, but the one girl that we were looking forward to seeing, Shavkat Rakhmonov's sister, was supposed to be on this card, and she had to pull out. So she gets a replacement, and we still got 5 fights. So let's get into it and start breaking them down. Started with the main event, welterweight bout here. Raheem Forrest coming in at -110 against Danny Barlow sitting at -120. Both men undefeated. And I said Barlow is undefeated. Forrest has 1 loss. And if you go back and look who it was against, it's Charles Radke, the man who just took out Blood Diamond and dropped the F-bomb on national television. But yeah, that's his only loss. He lost by submission there, round 1 rear naked choke. Look at his other fights, a lot of them in CFFC, 1 in LFA. He's getting it done by first round knockout in 4 of them. A couple decision wins and a submission win for Raheem Forrest, or for Danny Barlow. Excuse me. Left hand to God is his nickname. So you know that left hand is pretty dang good. Tall dude, 6'2". He's got a pretty long reach, 80-inch reach. And I would expect him to try to use that in this one and try to land that left hand. He's got 3 KOs on his record, couple decision wins, and a submission win. So both guys are pretty similar. And the line is indicating that. It's damn near a pick 'em. Should be a fun fight. What are you thinking in this one?
Yeah, super fun fight too. And on paper, like stylistically, they match up pretty decently to make it a fun fight. Danny Barlow, like you said, left hand. He switches stances a lot too. He'll throw some good leg kicks. He's pretty strong. And against lower level competition, at least, he's shown some really good power. And there's a couple of times where I've seen him get hit a little bit and he dips under and gets a takedown, and he's done some good work on the ground as well. Against Forrest, though, I did notice that Barlow, against previous opponents, kind of gets backed up a little bit. And I would look at Raheem Forrest as kind of a pressure fighter. He likes to get in your face. He swings bombs, man. When he lands those combinations, he's extremely accurate, and dudes fall and they crumble under his pressure. Yeah, some of those KOs he has on his record are just insane. Like you said, too, he's been fighting guys like Charles Radke. He fought Donovan Beard, who's the guy who went on the Contender Series, I think, and fought Bo Nickel for Bo Nickel's first appearance on the Contender Series, maybe second. But this guy's been fighting dudes that have experience. He's been fighting dudes with good records. I expect Raheem Forrest to really put the pressure on Barlow here and make Barlow make up his mind. Is he going to try to stand and bang with him, or is he going to try to get this thing to the ground? Because Raheem Forrest has been taken down by Charles Radke and submitted. So maybe Barlow has, that in the back of his head and is going to try to go with that game plan. But if this thing stays on the feet and Raheem Forrest can find that big right hand and follow it up with the combinations, I think Barlow could be in trouble. Because like I said, man, he does get backed up a little bit. And when you're fighting off your back foot against a guy like Forrest and you can't really get an inch to get it back to the octagon, it's usually bad news, because Forrest will just put the pressure on and he melts guys. So the one thing I will say about Forrest that's maybe a negative is that after grappling with guys and being taken down by Radke, like he looked like he slowed down a decent amount. So, if Barlow can't implement that game, I think he's got a chance. But For the pick, I'm gonna stick with Raheem Forrest. I like the power a lot in this fight.
Yeah, that was kind of one thing I noticed in the fight against Charles Radke. Is like after some exchanges, it looked like he got in a bad spot, and he was like, I'm out of here." And I'm not saying he's like a quitter or anything, but if you can put him in a place that he doesn't want to be, maybe there's a chance for an opportunity to finish him there. I think it really just comes down to the length of Danny Barlow because Forrest is going to have to get inside of it. I would expect him to try to mix in some takedowns here, or at least try to clinch him up because you stand at range. The 80-inch reach is going to play a big factor. For the pick, I'm going to go with Danny Barlow just because I like the striking on the feet. I think if he can fend off some takedowns, and if he does that, I like his chances at a pick 'em for sure. So I'm gonna go with Danny Barlow for the pick, and he is Raheem Forrest is a late notice replacement. Danny Barlow was supposed to take on Justin Burlinson, so if it does go later into the fight, maybe Forrest can't keep up the same pace, and I like that for Barlow, so I'll take him. Heavyweight bout here, Mario Piazzon coming in at plus 275 against Alexander Soldatkin coming in at minus 410. 14-3 for Soldatkin, undefeated 6-0 for Mario Piazzon. You look at him on Tapology, see his last fight was declared ineligible to be used as a win because of potential issues with legitimacy. Don't really like to see that. But nonetheless, he is 6-0. It's pretty hard to find tape on him. I don't know if you found a lot, but it was pretty tough.
Kind of sketchy promotion looking stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just not the highest level of promotions as far as that goes. But Alexander Soldatkin, 30 years of age for him, 6'2". You got the Germany flag there, but yeah, you can tell by the name where he's really from. And a lot of his losses come early in his career. Since then, I mean, he's on quite the win streak. I think he's looking at 11 wins in a row. So it's not a big streak. When I was watching his film, I'm like, I don't know if you agree, but the way he fights now reminds me of like a Sergey Pavlovich. Like he's just gonna walk you down and just try to break you, and he doesn't want to let the fight go very long because it seems like after a good amount of time, like he's going to start to slow down. He just wants to blitz you right off the bat. Is he Sergey Pavlovich? I don't think so. But this one I would expect to end pretty early because if Soldatkin comes out with the same type of mentality he has in his last fight, they're going to have to throw down. I don't know if I like minus 410 for Soldatkin, but like because it's heavyweights and there's a lot of variation, whoever lands their punch the best. But I do think he probably wins. But what do you think? Are you giving the dog any chance in this one?
There's a lot of things I just don't like about Piazzon and like the ineligible fight to go on his record in his last bout. Like you said, that's a massive red flag. And he did get the dub there, so it's like, okay, was this a fixed fight? What's really going on? These promotions aren't high level at all. How good were his previous opponents? I mean, 2 fights before that, he fought a guy named Lucas Anderton who was 0-0. Like I don't like seeing that kind of stuff in your recent fights if you're going to step onto a bigger stage like the Contender series. And Soldatkin, like you said it perfectly, like he looks like a Sergey Pavlovich style. In a lot of his fights, it reminds me of what Pavlovich did to Tai Tuivasa, like head straight down the center, throwing these like hooks, like left hook, left hook, and just melting dudes. But he's also proved that he can fight on the ground as well if opponents try to take it there. For Piazzon, though, I don't think he's going to try to take it to the ground. If you watch him, he's not the most athletic heavyweight. He's a heavyweight. I mean, this guy's likes to march forward. He'll throw some big shots, and he tries to get you out of there in the first round. He does have a decision win on his record, but outside of that, he's won every single fight by round 1 KO. So Soldatkin too, I think more experience, better level of competition. He's just got more of a technical fighting style as well. Like, yeah, he's going to wing some hooks in there and stuff, but as far as his stance and his footwork and head movement and composure in there, I think he's far more experienced and ready for this than Mario Piazzon will be. So yeah, I think Soldatkin gets the win. Minus 410 is not good for any heavyweight at this level, in my opinion. But I do think he's going to be the much better fighter than Mario Piazzon.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think he's fought a higher level of competition for sure. Like watching the Piazzon fights, the one fight that stuck out to me was like his debut. He kicked the guy in the leg. One time the guy fell to the ground, and then he's just like laying on top of him, like not even like vicious ground and pound, but it just eventually the guy just stopped moving, and that was the end of the fight. So I don't know how good these guys are that he's really facing. Soldatkin at least has got some decent wins if you look at their records. How good are they? Not really sure, but yeah, he melts dudes. I would expect he goes in there and melts Piazzon, but Piazzon's never lost, so maybe he's just got some granite chin and he's got some big power in his hands. We don't know. That's kind of why the minus 410 scares me. But for the pick, I got to go with Alexander Soldatkin. Featherweight bout here, Danny Silva coming in at minus 150 against Angel Pacheco, sitting at plus 120. Silva 7-1, 4-1 in his last 5. Pacheco, same deal there. 31 years of age for him, 26 years of age for Danny Silva. You see the height advantage for Silva there. Look at Danny Silva. The only loss comes to Kanan Kawahi, who has fought on the Contender Series twice and lost both times. So, I mean, he's not like a terrible fighter by any means. You actually watched that fight. He looks pretty good. But either way, that's his only loss. It was a decision, majority decision. For Danny Silva, he's got a bunch of wins by KO, 5 to be exact. And then you look at Angel Pacheco, and never won a decision. He's only lost his by decision. Other than that, he's a pure finisher. And seems like he can do it all around. I mean, he's got some submission wins, he's got some knockout wins. Looks like he's from Minnesota. Watching the film on him, I wasn't that impressed. At least for Danny Silva, he trains with the likes of Cub Swanson and Dan Argueta, who we just saw this last weekend at a good gym there in California. So there's that. This one, I like Danny Silva's side. I'm just not really impressed watching the Pacheco film. I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Angel Pacheco is probably the more well-rounded mixed martial artist, but I don't think it's going to matter in this fight. I think Danny Silva on the feet, super aggressive. He's got like what I like to think of as that Dana White's Contender Series style. Like he's going to throw bombs. He's going to look for that highlight reel knockout. And, he's extremely tough as well and hits really, really hard. He can kind of overwhelm guys on the feet. The thing I do like about his side too is it seems like his experience is going to be a little bit better. He's been fighting in LFA his last 3 or 4 fights. He's been in some back and forth fights where he showed enough composure and ability to bounce back after being beat on a little bit, and then he's came back to find wins as well. For Pacheco, decent wrestler. I mean, he's got 3 wins by sub, 4 by KO. It obviously tells you he can win fights in any way possible and that he is a finisher. But I just don't know if he can get Danny Silva to the ground here. I mean, like you said, Danny Silva's training with Cub Swanson. He's training with Dan Argueta. Like, he's going to have wrestling in his back pocket and probably defensively if he's training with those dudes, especially Dan. So if he can keep it on the feet here, I think he's going to be the more aggressive guy. I think he's going to be the harder hitter. And I just think he'll probably have more volume. We'll have to see what his gas tank's like on a stage like Dana White's Contender Series and if he can keep that pace. But if he can, I do think he stuffs the takedowns. I do think he probably gets the better of Pacheco on the feet and walks away with his hand raised here. But again, if Angel Pacheco does get it to the ground, he's shown the ability to finish dudes down there too. So, yeah, you never know on Dana White's Contender Series, but from what I'm seeing, I think Danny Silva is probably going to be the guy more ready for this leap up into the UFC caliber, UFC level competition.
Yeah, I think Danny Silva, boxing base, the length, probably going to give him the advantage on the feet. It's just a matter of fact of keeping it there and landing the punches. I think he probably wins. I'm going to go with Danny Silva for the pick. I think that line has swelled more to like minus 200 by now. So, yeah, just keep an eye on that. Flyweight bout here, Ernesta Kareckaite coming in at plus 160 against Carly Judice, sitting at minus 210. Judice undefeated, Ernesta undefeated with a draw. And if you look at their records, Judice has been fighting since the beginning or the end of 2022. So she's very new as a pro. She's got 2 fights this year, and all of her wins come by finish. So that's impressive. And then you look at Ernesta Kareckaite, and she has all of her wins except 2 of them by decision. Her first 2 wins were both round 1 knockouts. Since then, a draw and 2 split decisions. She's got some kickboxing fights on her record as well. So you can tell by the frame. I mean, she's 5'9". She's pretty tall. Even in the face-offs today against Judice, she looked pretty big. She's going to want to keep this one on the feet and use her length and use her striking. Luckily for her, Carly Judice is kind of a kickboxer as well. If you watch her fights, she doesn't really look to try to mix it up at any time. She's going to stand there and kickbox with you too. The thing here is Carly Judice, watching her film, she's usually the bigger girl, and she's had a lot of success with that. I don't know if she's going to have any trouble with the length of Ernesta in this one. I'm sure it's probably going to be a much different look than what she's used to. So I don't know. I think the dog's probably live here. I mean, women's MMA too. Short notice for Carly Judice as well. She was the spot for Sora Rachmanova. What are you thinking on this one? I kind of like the dog.
Yeah, no, I was thinking dog. It's women's MMA. First of all, you don't really know what you're getting all the time until the fight starts happening, I guess. But the more I look at it and the more I watch film, I just feel like Carly Judice is, I don't know, her movement's so good. In a couple of her recent fights, she reminds me of a Manon Farrow. She'll throw some really good volume. Everything's really, really technical and tight. And I do think this whole entire fight is going to take place on the feet, which I think is probably to both girls' advantage. I think that's what both girls are really going to want to do. And for Kareckaite, I feel like her competition isn't really the best or hasn't been the best. It's not that high level, and she's winning by split decision and kind of lower level promotions. I mean, split decision. Let's see, last year almost to the day against a girl who was 0-0. I just don't know how much I like that. And there's a couple of fights that I've seen of hers too where she kind of slows down. I don't know if she's taking breaks or just taking some time off or what, but she gets kind of lower volume. She's not throwing much back. And if she does that against Carly Judice, I think she's just going to get picked apart as the fight goes on, because Judice doesn't really show any signs of slowing down. At least some of it are amateur fights. Lately, she's getting all round 1 KOs. And that's another thing that I kind of noticed and like too. Her amateur results, she went KO, decision against lower level girls at the amateur level. And once she turned pro and started getting more fights, she's finding these head kick knockouts, these round 1 knockouts. I feel like she's improving at a faster pace than Kareckaite probably is. And I just think she's going to be way more technical. She's going to have a better pace. And, if the gas tank holds up, and for Judice, I think she's going to end up walking away with this fight 29-28. I don't think we see a knockout here. I think both girls are decent enough strikers to defensively get out of the way of the big knockout shots. But overall, I just like what I see on tape a little bit more out of Carly Judice.
Yeah, she looks like she trains down in Texas with Andrea Lee, Tony Kelly, Matt Schnell, those type of guys. So she's at a decent gym. I do think she has the better movement on the feet. When I watch Ernesta on film, nothing really jumps off the board. She's just big. I don't know if that's going to help her or not, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go dog or pass. I'm going to take Ernesta for the pick. But it wouldn't shock me if Judice just goes in there and starts piecing her up. Maybe just has a really great speed advantage that she can use to get a win. But Ernesta's going to be the pick for me. Bantamweight bout here. This one's going to be fun. Vinicius Oliveira coming in at minus 385 against Victor Madrigal, coming in at plus 265. 12-3 for Madrigal, 18-3 for Vinicius. And he will put on a show. It was a real pleasure to watch his film, especially the one against Ali Taleb. That was one that he lost. A round 3 knockout loss to Ali Taleb back in July of 2022. All 3 of his losses are by knockout, so he's not afraid to get hit, and sometimes it doesn't work out for him. The one against Ali Taleb, he had Ali Taleb hurt, and then he got cracked by Ali Taleb, and then Ali Taleb finally finished him off in the third round. In this one against Victor Madrigal, Victor Madrigal, he doesn't have like some granite chin. He's been knocked out by Marcelo Rojo, but he's also got knockouts of his own. He's got some submissions of his own. So plus 265. I'm looking at this one like the way that Vinicius Oliveira fights. It is just throw. It is throw with hard intentions and try to put this guy out. Heavy chalk like that doesn't really sit well with me. So I don't love it, but I think Oliveira probably wins. But I do think the dog probably holds more value at this spot. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's interesting. Man, Vinicius Oliveira, like he's what makes this fight so exciting because he talks all the trash. He's in the octagon, he's dancing, fights with his hands down, like begging you to throw something so he can counter you. He swings hard. I mean, he's got some dog in him too. Like against that fight against Talib, like it was back and forth. I know you watched it. I watched it twice because it was so fun to watch. Like maybe one of the best fights ever in that promotion and UAE Warriors because dude, they were dropping each other. Both guys had some ground control time where you thought one was going to pull off the submission, and then he just got caught in the third round. I think he was getting a little tired as well. But I think Victor Hugo Madrigal is getting a little bit undervalued here. I don't think people are giving him as fair of a shot as he should. Like this dude's shown on the feet, like he's not the greatest striker by any means. He uses his leg kicks pretty well, but he's tough and he's extremely slick with the submission game. Like he's almost like sneaky with it. He'll take your back from really really weird positions. I don't know if you saw in his last fight against Jose Quinones, like that armbar he had. He had it like extended behind the dude's back, standing like he was hanging on him like a goddamn monkey and had that arm, damn near broke, went to the ground. He got out of it. Almost had him in like an omoplata at one point and transitioned to take his back. And he was just very, very slick. So I do think Vinicius Oliveira has some decent enough, defensive jiu-jitsu. Like he doesn't really find himself in bad positions for long. If he does, he's good about working back up to the feet or even reversing and getting on top. So I think he's got that going for him. If this thing stays on the feet, I do think Oliveira is probably a little more dangerous, a little better volume. He's going to cut angles better and probably be the overall better striker. But I could see this fight being closer than people think. I think Madrigal is pretty tough. So if you can't put him out of there and he's in there for all 3 rounds, like he's always going to be live to find something. Or if you slip up and shoot a takedown, like he's going to take your back, something like that. I'm going to pick Vinicius Oliveira here. I think it's going to be an extremely good fight. I think it's going to be a fun fight. It's going to be back and forth. For the pick, it's Oliveira, but betting wise, like I don't know if I could lay that kind of money on him, especially seeing that he's been knocked out by these guys 3 times in his career, just because he kind of showboats a little bit and gets a little overconfident. If you get overconfident against a guy like Madrigal, you make that one mistake, he could put you in a really bad spot. So I think it's going to be fireworks though.
Yeah, it's like the ceiling for Vinicius Oliveira is much higher as far as what he could do in the UFC because he will go out there and showboat. He will, throw caution to the wind and look for that knockout and maybe get knocked out in the process. But he should win. But I don't like the price. And for Victor Madrigal, he's got a couple wins over like UFC guys, like Christian Quinones beat him by a rear naked choke. Jose Quinones beat him by rear naked choke. I'm looking at this one like path to victory for Victor Madrigal. Try to find a sub somewhere because you probably don't want to slug it out with Vinicius Oliveira. Could work out for you, but maybe not the best. I would try to use that BJJ and try to snatch up something in some type of exchange or something like that. So Oliveira is going to be the pick. But I think the value is on Madrigal at this point, or look for like an under or something. I don't see this fight going too long because I think Oliveira just goes out there looking for a finish, and if he gets it, it works. If he doesn't, probably get finished in the process. So,
wait, was it Madrigal? Did he have Christian Quinones in the armbar?
Yeah,
Christian Quinones.
Yeah.
Because Christian had the red hair. But I mean, yeah, like you said, that's a UFC caliber fighter. Even though Quinones lost his first fight against Kang, but even he lost to Alejandro Flores by a decision. Flores has got some wins in the PFL. Like this dude is fighting UFC caliber guys. Marcelo Rojo got knocked out in the first round, but it just shows you kind of where he's at. He's fighting some good guys. I don't think like Vinicius Oliveira necessarily is going to be a guy he's never seen before, like a talent he's never seen in his life, because he is fighting some really, really tough fighters. So I think it makes it really interesting.
And if you do MMA math, Madrigal beat Christian Quinones, and Christian Quinones beat Vinicius Oliveira. So,
And he just wore Christian Quinones down too. Like he did not. I mean, he just grinded him down to get that round 3 finish. So yeah, super impressive.
I'll probably have some play
Yeah.
on Madrigal just because he's too big of an underdog in my opinion. But yeah, those are the picks for Dynamite Contender Series episode 8. If you want the bets, they'll be available using the link in the description probably tomorrow morning when they're finalized. This is being filmed Monday night. Absolutely free. You'll get the instant download there. And if you want to jump on the Double Leg Premium, link is in the description for that. Gets you every single UFC card every week for less than $1 a day. We'll try to keep the profit going. We just had a decent weekend at UFC Vegas 79. So make sure you get those. Subscribe to the channel if you want to support it and like the video. Appreciate you all. At the Double Leg on Instagram so you can stay up to date when those drop. At HI Picks on the medias for me. Where can they find you?
All social media is at the Parlay MMA.
All right, till the next video, the Double Leg signing out.